is that everyone looks really good, and my old MacBook and
Nah, dude, you look great. What are you talking about?
wired headphones is gonna have to roll through today.
No, that's perfect. Thank you for making time, dude. I know you're a busy guy.
That's all right. Anytime, man.
You're currently on tour with Parkway, right?
I am. I am. So, um, yeah, kind of a funny situation, but I'm just out with Void Division, my
Hmm.
mates. So I've been a long-term collaborator, producer with them,
Yep.
and yeah, their guitarist James had a little incident about a week and a half ago with his arm and wasn't sure if he was going to play guitar on the tour. So I was kind of just back up just in case of
Right.
anything.
Okay.
But thankfully for Vov, he's all good. He's on the tour, and so now I'm just a crew member. So
You're just hanging
good.
out.
I'm
Sick.
hanging out. I'm hanging out on a Parkway tour. So
I
can't complain.
mean, look, probably not the worst place to be just hanging out as crew. I've seen some of the footage of the show and it looks fucking psycho. So,
I will say it is cut like in the industry. We all see millions of shows. I'm sure
mhm.
as you would be in the same boat, but this Parkway show was, I dare say, the best show I've maybe ever seen. Like,
Yeah,
and that's saying something. Yeah, I didn't miss a single second of it. So I sat in the stands like a glued
like
to
a
my seat.
punter.
Yeah,
Fuck
glued
yeah.
to my seat, punter. It was sick.
Last time I saw Parkway play that venue in Brisbane was Taste of Chaos in like 2007
True.
when, or like 2006, maybe. It was probably just after Killing with a Smile came out. So, like, it's wild to see footage of them doing that show and they're headlining and they've got
Yeah.
all that production bullshit. It's just crazy to see like where they started and where they are. So yeah, stoked for them. The whole tour looks insane. Having Void kind of on that run opening for them, huge. Awesome.
Oh, it's awesome. I'm very happy for the Void guys as well because they just dropped an album today, so it's very
I've
nice
heard
of
it.
them.
It's fucking sick.
Yeah, I'm very proud of that for them and for myself as well. Yeah, I think it's a really great album. So sneaky plug for Vov. Go check
No, hell
it
yeah. No.
out.
I got an advance of the record like a couple of weeks ago and I've been plugging it over and over and over again. And I would say it's like the best thing they've ever done. Like it's
I,
just
I,
so like next level for them. So to know that you had a part in that is super dope.
yeah, I'd comfortably agree. Comfortably agree. So it was awesome. I did their like first stuff many years ago. Like I did their first ever album together.
Yeah, wow.
Worked on some stuff after that, even when they went to different producers.
Hmm.
And then for this one, we just decided to take it all the way back and go back to how we did things back in the day. And it's yeah, fucking sick.
Yeah, that's awesome, dude. But let's talk about your stuff because
Yeah, let's
we're
do
giving
that.
everyone else the plug here. Let's turn it around. So
Let's do it.
Every day is staying low, catching raindrops from my own eyes. Drown myself again. Drown myself again. Drown myself again.
I listened to the new record this morning, had a
Beautiful.
first kind of back to back listen, and I would say, similarly to Void, that this is probably the best Ocean Grove record that I've heard
Beautiful.
that I enjoyed. So, firstly, congratulations. And secondly, how are you feeling about it? This is album number 4 for the band. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling yeah, very happy. Very happy with it. With everything, I guess, in Ocean Grove world. It's been a challenging few years. I'll say
Yeah.
that. I mean, I think anyone who's well versed in OG and our world knows the sort of difficulties we've faced and like lineup changes over the years and kind of at times for me it's felt like almost starting again,
Yeah.
and it's with this record I've felt it came together so naturally and the way that we used to do things, and I guess that's kind of on brand for this record for me is I wanted to bring back what 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 OG means to me from the 10 years that we've been doing Ocean Grove.
Yeah.
Everything that, that is Ocean Grove, everything that is Odd World, hence the album title, Odd World. It's just, for me, perfectly fitting as just a sum up of that, of, 10 years of history going into the band. And I think it's the best representation of that, despite everything we've gone through and all the changes that's kind of taken place.
Yeah.
So I'm very proud of it. I'm very proud of it. It's my favorite as well to date.
Yeah. I think the point that you make about, the feeling of starting the band over again multiple times, the member shuffles, like I think kind of reading through the album bio and even listening to the record, like the one thing that sticks out is that like, change has been like the only constant for Ocean Grove. You know what I mean? Like you've changed sounds, you've changed members, you've changed labels, like you're constantly doing different things. But to your credit, you take that in your stride. And that's really a part of the band, right? Whereas, that kind of thing, that instability could be something that breaks a lesser band or that, pushes people to the edge. And I feel like, it really is a testament to you and the guys in the band that you've taken that on and you're like, fuck it, we'll just keep rolling with it. We just keep doing what we're doing.
I think that's exactly it. Like, I think there might have even been an interesting stat that I think almost every record has had, in some degree, a variation of lineup. I mean, anyone who's deep in Ocean Grove world knows that shouldn't matter too much because our core base, which is existent on this record, has been there through the whole time. So
yes, that's right.
If anyone still doesn't know, I write and produce every second of Ocean Grove's music and play every instrument on every album, and it's always been that way. So despite, if some people still don't know that, despite all the lineup changes when it comes to people moving in and out, the consistency of our music has still remained intact with Ocean Grove because it's been myself, it's been Dale, it's been Running Touch in the background, it's been
That's right.
Luke Holmes, our old singer. It's very much still creatively in the background. So despite all the other stuff, that's been happening in the background. And I think with this record, we're trying to let that be known that that's the Odd World Collective. That's our thing. We're not trying to hide that away in the background anymore. It's like, that is Ocean Grove. It's not just your usual band. It's a collection of, very talented individuals coming together to make some art that we really like and enjoy,
Yeah. And I think like the stuff that I get on the new record in terms of like, the different influences, the different sounds that you're pulling from, it really does kind of speak to that ethos because like I feel a similar way about Ocean Grove the way I do about, big like rap collectives and stuff, and like they will bring in different producers or they'll have different features or whatever. So like there's a constant variation on what they're doing, but that core is still the same, but they can bring people in, they can go in different directions. And that fluid nature of it is part of the whole process. And I think for you guys, that's exactly what you're doing. And that comes through on Oddworld. There's a quote in the album bio from Dale where he says that this record is the signature defining record and the benchmark that all future sounds will be kind of measured to. And I wanted to know if you could speak to that a little bit. Was there any kind of like conscious thing going on with you guys, like creating this record, this collection of material where you're like, this is it, this is going to be Oddworld?
I think I can only explain my interpretation of what I'm
Sure.
sure Dale means by that. But for me, I think I take that as the footsteps moving forward is being open about this Oddworld Collective thing.
Right.
This record is you'll hear different voices, you'll hear different sounds, you'll hear different people, And back to our heavier roots, I think it's just like Dale says, like this is the benchmark for where where we go forward and how we how we plan to operate going forward as well. So I believe music creation in the future, and the minimum entry point of what we're kind of looking to do is OddWorld, and that's how I interpret Dale's statement of that.
Yeah.
So,
no, that's perfect. And I knew that, obviously it's not your quote, but I knew that you would have some thoughts and feelings around that. So thank you for expanding on his words. I wanted to kind of touch on, I guess, what you felt in the studio in terms of like spontaneity, because there's stuff in the album bio that talks about kind of just letting the creative process guide the songs in whichever direction felt natural, I guess, at a very kind of organic songwriting process. So can you talk to that a little bit? What was it like kind of in the studio with the boys, putting all this stuff down? How did you feel the vibe in the room was when you were pushing and pulling in different directions?
I think for this record, our songwriting process is quite unique, where we're in a position that because I'm writing a lot of the music, but I'm also producing it, and there is no time frame for us where it's like, excuse me, we have to go and spend a block of time writing a record, and then we have to go and book studio time and sort of lay that down for real. So when it comes to writing it, a lot of the time, this album is, a lot of the vocal takes you're hearing, the guitar playing, like you're hearing what was laid out this very second that the initial idea was formed, because we have that ability where it's sort of like, if I'm writing a demo, I'm going into my studio computer, which is inevitably what's going to mix and master the thing anyway.
That's
what I
right.
mean?
Yeah.
So when it comes to writing and the creation for all of us, kind of what's happening in the moment in studio is kind of what you're getting. Now, that's not to say there's not refinement. I was actually talking to Poochie about this. We spent some serious hours going back and forth, as all artists do and all creatives do.
Yeah.
But for this record in particular, there was really nothing to lose. And that was my mentality going forward with this record. Is in the past, I've been incredibly guilty of, maybe unfairly setting standards towards the guys in some aspects where it's like, no, I have to strive for this perfection, or, this isn't going to work, this isn't going to whatever. With this one, it was really laid back. It's like, does this feel good? Do we all vibe with this? How about you get up and do this vocal? There's moments on this record where I might have just sang something and Dale went, that's sick, lay it down. And that's my voice on the record, or that's Twiggy's voice in a section that isn't usually Twiggy. Things like that, where it's like, there just wasn't really any limitations. I guess that's a cliche thing to say. You go into the studio with no limitations, but there really wasn't. It's kind of like, let's vibe out. Let's just create some stuff we like. It's fun, and kind of there's no expectation on this. And that's how I wanted to look at it, to take the pressure off, because unfortunately, any artist will tell you the second you have 5 fans, you have expectation put on your art. And that gets the better of a lot of people. So I'm just really proud of the group, of my band and my bandmates, of what we've been able to put together. And it's felt really easy. It's felt, not too challenging. I'd say that, when usually this process can be quite the opposite.
Is this all that I am? I've done it all. This is all in my head. Can't turn it off. I said never again, and I was wrong. Never after my disaster.
And I would imagine, like, on the last 2 records, due to COVID and pandemic and a whole bunch of other stuff externally kind of out of your control, that would have created a lot of stress and a little bit of a pressure cooker kind of environment. So
Absolutely.
to have a little bit more freedom, a little bit more kind of, you know, room to kind of just soak and let things kind of be what they're going to be, I imagine that would feel quite nice. um I wanted to touch on a point that you mentioned before about kind of bridging the old and the new for Ocean Grove, because as we've kind of discussed, you've changed your sound. The band has evolved a bunch of times over subsequent records, and I really felt that in listening to My Disaster as like the
Mhm.
lead single for the record. To me, it kind of has some of the most like aggressive riffs and sections on the whole album, but then it has this gorgeous, lush, triumphant chorus that
Mhm.
reminds me of listening to the Rhapsody tapes for the first time and being like, holy fuck, like, what is the band doing? Like, this is crazy. So, like,
Yeah.
it really does seem like this synthesis of old and new. So, talk to me about that in trying to kind of do a cohesive record that spans the whole discography.
I think that inevitably is the challenge, isn't it? As
Mm.
you continue on year after year, the discography expands. And in our case, like you mentioned before, every album is different. You know, we've changed sounds quite frequently, which is from day one what we always plan to do. You know,
Yeah.
despite everything that's happened within the OG network, we were always going to do that.
And I would say it's your greatest strength
I,
to be frank, like to be able
I
to do that time after time after time. Like, yeah, that's great.
I think so, absolutely. And I always have looked at it as a strength. You know, it's been one thing where you couldn't really pigeonhole us into one genre
No.
ever in our career, because even on the same record, you would just have such a different span of music going on. And I've always loved that. And you can tell that's still the case on this record. You know, there's a
Very
little
much
bit
so.
of, there's a little bit of everything on this record. But I think that was the challenge. Like, just touching on your original question, that's always the challenge: is how can we expand, keep doing what we want to do musically, but keep everyone and everyone that's been on the journey with us interested. You know, our last record, Up in the Air Forever, was particularly soft. I guess you'd put it in comparison.
Yeah.
And that in itself was a COVID album, and a product of, I guess, what all of us were going through and feeling in COVID. So
Yeah.
that's on the lighter end of the scale. And I think after touring it ever since, we were able to get back on the road and touring even the record before, there was a natural sense for me anyway, I can only speak on my behalf, of, you know, missing some of the feeling that you get from that I had when we would tour the Rhapsody tapes and even earlier work. So I knew very much so that if there was a new album to come from anything, it was going to be heavy again. It was going to be back to the new metal roots.
Yeah.
But the beautiful thing with us is I think we're in a position where a lot of heavy bands, I'll use this as an example. A lot of heavy bands have people in the band that can scream and, you know, can sing a chorus here and there.
Yeah.
We're in a position where vocally, particularly, we have to look for other ways to be a heavy band, you know, because Dale and Twiggy primarily are clean singers, and we utilize rapping. That's kind of our version of screaming over heavy music. But I love that. I think that's a really unique thing for us, because we can now be in this heavy landscape, this heavy world, and automatically be different from everyone else, because vocally, for example, we have to do something different to everyone else. And I think of that as a strength, particularly. But that then helps us keep up with the older discography stuff, and the sort of softer stuff, because it's like we can blend a bit more easily, you know. So there's rock moments on this record, there's softer moments on this record, and there's harder moments. I dare say this record might have some of the hardest stuff we've ever done.
I would agree, yeah.
Which is, you know, if you were to tell someone who maybe checked out of being an OG fan back in the day, they'd probably be shocked to hear that, you know. So, yeah.
No, I think that's a cool way to kind of bring things full circle and to kind of you know, honor the roots and kind of be able to, you know, nostalgically kind of reflect on them, but still keep things facing forward to what's new and what's possible. Um, and one of the songs that really kind of stuck out to me on the record is Stunner. And it kind of starts with uh almost like an NERD kind of like intro with that like looped kind of acoustic guitar kind of like riff or motif or whatever. And then it kicks straight back into, you know, the heavy shit, the groovy shit, the new metal stuff.
Yeah.
And I was kind of thinking like you're in a unique position being both someone who performs in the band, obviously is like writing and recording most of the stuff on record, but then you're also the producer. So you're a guy who wears many caps. You have to kind of think broadly, conceptually, as well as like, you know, narrowly on individual instruments and stuff, right? So in terms of production, are you looking outside to different producers? Are you influenced by other people's work? Or are you someone who tries to like not let that seep in too much and just kind of do your own thing in the moment?
I think influence for me is definitely a big one.
Okay.
And I think anyone who's ever been a fan of Ocean Grove always touches on probably our biggest strong point being nostalgia.
Mm,
I think a lot of our releases are heavily nostalgic
yes.
for some reason. And I will say that's not necessarily like us trying, like that's just for some reason very natural for us. We don't go in to write something and be like, oh, let's directly be influenced or rip someone else's steez they've done. I think it's just the combination of all of our tastes in music
Yeah.
letting us portray that. You know, I call Twiggy the walking encyclopedia of music because he'll literally like, you'll hum 3 seconds of a song, he'll tell you the year and bloody who sang it. Like,
Love that.
It's classic.
We would get along. I like that.
Yeah, get him on for a chat. But it's like, I think influence like everyone will always be influenced by other people, and but the thing I always find is there's just always limitations in at least knowing. For example, I would really, you know, the band can attest to this. I would finish albums a lot faster sometimes if I didn't sit back and go, oh, the mix isn't right. It doesn't sound like, you know, A, B, and C. But then I have to take a step back and go, well, no, this is my skill set. This is what I'm capable of.
Yeah.
The reason I have a sound is because, you know, that's what I can do. Yes. And that's my skill set. That's what my ears are telling me. Yeah, sweet. Let's roll with that. So when it comes to the production side of things and influence, I always try to have things I like to do. But it's always kind of it's my sound. I guess it's just how it is. It's either good to some people or it's bad to some people, you know, but it's like at this moment in time that's all I can put forward.
Yeah. No, that's completely fair. I think you managed to walk a really good balance and a really good contrast in kind of making a sound that is, you know, distinct for Ocean Grove, but that still allows enough space to kind of explore the different things that we've been talking about, like being able to push the band in a heavier direction, to pull things back, to let things open up in a more softer direction. You know, your sound and your production spans that entire kind of dynamic range, right? So, you know, I wouldn't say you're a heavy music producer. Do you know what I mean? Like you've got
definitely not. And I think that's first of all, thank you because I agree, and
welcome.
I think I really look at that as a strength.
Yeah,
really
absolutely.
Because you know I think there's a lot of positives to being more than just you know, if I was just a heavy music producer, I'd be more than happy. But I'm very glad that I can add a few strings to the bow type situation.
Yes.
And I think touching on, you know, maybe what you were intending with the original question, I think because of that, I think when we do genre hop, it works and it feels like one.
Yeah.
Because for some reason the production style on top of everything else kind of works with that because
Yeah.
it's not so disgustingly heavy or too pop polish. It's somewhere in the middle that they blend together, and it helps the genre hopping kind of work together.
We can agree. I know you and you never knew me. I know you and you never knew me. I know you but you never knew me. Lose it in the flow. Everybody that you know. Are you with me when I lose it in the flow? Everybody that you know. Are you with me when
No, I completely agree, and I think the kind of key thing to note there is that it's authentic, right? Like that's a genuine thing that you've been doing throughout your entire production catalog, but also throughout the entire band's career. Like it's always felt like a very natural part of the band. So, you know, it's not like you're a heavy band for 4 albums and then suddenly you have a pop album. You know what I mean? Like that kind of discontinuity doesn't really exist because everything is so fluid. So
Yeah, and I think that's once again that's the strength, and I think especially going forward, where who knows what next wave of sound will come out underneath something else, But for the meantime, I'm very happy to be back, kind of in a heavier landscape, and
yeah. I imagine it's just
showcase-
fun to play too, right? To just like,
it's exactly that. It's funny you brought up our song "Stunner" because I think that's probably my favorite song on the record.
it's my favorite by far. Yeah, it's a vibe. It's dope.
One of my favorite production groups of all time, and I guess you'd put this in the influence category, is definitely the Neptunes. Pharrell, Chad Hugo, aka every massive 2000s.
Yeah, like the sound of the 2000s, essentially.
The sound of the 2000s, and that's my personal favorite taste of music and inspo when it comes to not being heavy. And so I remember we did ask for the anthem as sort of the first song in, I think it might have been 2019, to launch kind of the next wave of the band. And it's been very interesting to me to see that sort of Timberlake, Neptune sound come back for popularity in
very much so.
The mainstream pop world, because we do a song like Stunner, which I think very much has that sort of JT Neptunes kind of vibe.
Yeah.
mashed with a really fun and big new metal chorus and riff. So it's little things like that where I just think it's fresh, it's fun. I personally can't wait to play these sorts of songs live, with that sort of thing in mind,
Yeah, no, I agree. And that's a perfect kind of segue into my final kind of question that we'll use to kind of wrap things up, because I know you've got lobby call and need to get out of here. But guess final thing to note is you've got East Coast run coming up in the next few weeks. You got some shows. Talk to me about that. You've got some special guests on the run. You're excited to play some of these new songs. So yeah, how are you feeling about the tour?
Very excited. We haven't done a main city headline tour for quite some time.
Yeah,
we've been very fortunate to still get out and do a lot of regional touring, I guess, in the last few years. We did a regional headliner, and also we were just out with Polaris,
which would have been sick.
So. It was awesome. It was awesome to connect with those guys after, because we've been around just as long. Kind of doing the same sort of things. They're obviously doing fantastic things everywhere in the world. But it's awesome to just, there's only 3 shows, but it'll be really fun to play to our dedicated fans. There's no better feeling. I love supporting, but there's no better feeling than playing to your dedicated audience that are there to come and sing their favorite OG songs.
Yeah.
Which is my favorite thing. So it'll be really fun. We've got some awesome bands on that bill. And we're hoping to make it a really fun night. I will say my expectations I've got to put some work in after watching this Parkway Arena tour. I'll say that. Hopefully we can extend the budget from 50 cents to $1.
Got to get yourself one of those rotating drum kits,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
I'll see if someone can spin me around for 25 minutes and see how I go. But no, very excited to get out, play these new songs, have some friends with us, and hopefully just kick off this new era of OG, in a fun way, and just really have a great night with everyone, because it has been quite some time.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm very much looking forward to it.
Yeah, dude, I think it's going to be sick. And, having heard the new record, I know that the new songs are going to go off live. And I know that you guys are probably itching to start putting some of those in the set and really kind of showing people what's up with the new record. So, look, thank you for taking time with me to kind of run through all of this. I know you're a busy guy. You got stuff going on, so I do appreciate it. Fire evacuation alarm included. It was great.
Thank you, Owen. I do appreciate that and your interest, and I'm glad you fuck with the record.
Yeah, hell yeah, dude. Thank you so much. Subscribe now to the Pitch of Discontent Patreon to receive access to extended cuts of our bonus episodes, as well as exclusive behind-the-scenes content, monthly Patreon-only episodes, member-only votes, the TPD community chat, and much more. Go now to patreon.com/TPDpod and join for as little as $5 a month. That link again is patreon.com/TPDpod. Thanks for watching the show.